Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Good day.
Good day.
Hi, Heath. Hi, Aaron.
Hi, Amy.
It's lovely to see you
So
again.
good.
Yes, in our semi-regular chat sesh.
Yes.
I was
Wasn't
trying to
there
be.
used to be a game called like Teen Talk?
Oh, God.
And it was like, does anyone else remember this? And it was like questions and you asked your friends and it was supposed to be like they sold it as like a hot goss session. And I was
Oh,
like, no, I don't
no?
think.
It was a board game, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. I think I remember
Okay.
that.
That might not be the correct title, but
I don't like
remember-
it.
Yeah.
Someday, if we go through a rebrand, we can consider Teen Talk as the new name for the.
I
the
mean,
podcast.
we do have some
Or-
teens following us.
Or we get a copy of it and we play it. live.
Oh, now that.
Yeah.
That's actually a great idea.
Yeah.
Oh. All right. Well, today we're going to talk. We're doing a little bonus episode. We're covering lots of 80s and 90s stuff.
So
We're
much
talking
80s
about
and
remakes,
Reboots.
and we're coming at it from a few different angles. But first, as always, let's talk about our unmitigated gall. Anyone has something real burning,
Did you have to
a
use
burning
the word burning?
sensation?
I want to hear yours.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
teased us when,
Yours
when we
fits
showed up.
burning.
I did.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm just going to write it down.
Mine.
It's a burning sensation that I need to figure out what it is.
My unmitigated gall is ghosts with arson on their mind because
Oh shit! Twinsies.
so here's the scene. Aaron knows about this for reasons that will become clear, but here's the scene. Friday night, I'm sitting, I'm watching some TV. It's a delight. I see the cats are acting a little weird in the living room, and then I smell what smells like smoke. And I look over, and I get up and look over, and I have a gas fireplace that's enclosed in glass and everything. I rarely, if ever, use this thing. It is on. It is just turned on, full blast, full heat.
Oh.
And I'm like, what? And there's a remote. There's a front panel. I'm trying all sorts of different things. The thing won't turn off, and it keeps getting hotter. And also, I'm smelling like. I don't know if it's gas. I'm smelling something. I go into panic. So the first thing I can think of is Mike, Aaron's husband. Got to call Mike. So this also shows the level of panic that I'm at, that I pick up the telephone and I call.
And Mike, real quick on my side of the story,
Yeah.
Mike turns the phone to me because we're watching opening ceremonies and says it's Amy. And I go, oh my God. I mean, we both were like, shit, something terrible has happened.
Yeah, that was the
level.
level I was at.
Yes.
I called Mike. I told him what was going on, and he was like, "It just came on." And I'm like, "Yeah, apparently I have ghosts that are just fucking with me." And he's like, "That's the only explanation I can figure out." So I'm trying a few things. I tried turning breakers off, and then I realized, well, that's not going to help because it's gas, whatever. Mike decides he's going to drive over.
Oh.
That's a 20-minute drive, and I'm super grateful, but also like, God damn it, I didn't want to. This was Friday night. He's watching the Olympics.
He was barely watching the opening ceremony.
Okay. Well, I go online, I find owner's manual, and then I find another way to shut it off. And I shut it off. Great. So I call Mike, everything's fine. I go to bed, and then there's something before I fall asleep, there's something like, I just want to check it once more. And I go downstairs and it's on again.
Oh my.
It is on. It is even hotter than before, if possible. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And now it keeps going on and off, on and off. And the smell is still there. And I'm like, all right, fuck. Thankfully, the first time that happened, I asked Mike, like, what do I do in a situation like that in the future? Like, who should I have called? And he said, call the gas company. So the first thing I did is I called People's Gas, which exists in Chicago, because that was my automatic, like, I'm calling People's, da-da-da-da-da. And then they're like, so where are you located in Chicago? And I'm like, oh, fuck.
Oh no.
My automaticness just went straight to this. She's like,
no.
no, where do you live? Do you live in the north suburbs?
The
I'm like,
west
no,
side?
I live in Iowa. I'm sorry. So then I remember, I live in Iowa. So I called Mid-American. They sent someone out, but they also, on the call, told me, does it smell like gas? I'm like, I'm not really sure. And they're like, all right, evacuate. Get out of the house. I'm like, okay. And so I get out of the house. But then I'm also like, but the cats are in the house. Like, what do I do? Thankfully, the woman came very quickly. She came in. She checked immediately. There was no gas leak. So that was good. She went downstairs into my crazy basement,
This
reminding
is all
him.
happening like at midnight on Friday night?
Yes. Yes. She went down into my basement. And as a reminder, my house is from 1910.
Yeah, you got a murder basement.
I got a murder basement.
basement.
And also I got a basement where you can tell, like, technology's changed a lot in the 114 years. So it's like very haphazard sort of patchwork kind of stuff. So she's trying to follow gas lines in the ceiling. And she's like, there are 4 gas lines that I can't tell where they go. I don't even know. And she's like, but this one looks like it works. She turned that off. She turned there was a valve on the actual fireplace. Great. I went to bed and I actually couldn't fall asleep for a while because I was afraid it was going to turn on again, even though the gas was off. But I was like, I got ghosts. Ghosts can do whatever they want. It didn't come on again. But yesterday, it keeps beeping. And I tried replacing the batteries in the actual thing because that's what the owner's manual said. Still beeping. So again, I say the only scientific explanation is ghosts who want to commit arson or who want to really just fuck with my head.
Also, the fact that you got my husband to ghosts and he sort of believed it is in and of itself. Because he was like, he hung up and he was getting ready to go. And he's like, I literally can't think of why this would happen. He's like, this doesn't make any sense. And he's like, I'm left with the ghost theory. Like, that's it.
So here we are, ghosts. Even the Mid-American lady, I was sort of joking about ghosts. And she's like, huh? I mean, she didn't know either. She was like, I think there might be like an electrical component that's broken in there.
Yeah.
And she's also like, and maybe those extra gas lines were like for old school gas lighting, you know, when like early 1900s. But she left and she's like, I think we're okay. We shut off a couple gas lines. And I was like, thank you. I want to hug you.
Great news that there's no leak. I mean, that's
exactly.
huge.
That was huge.
Yeah.
That was my Friday night. It was
That
super
sounds fun.
Super fun. All of that to say, ghosts, you got some fucking gall. You're coming at me on a Friday night in the middle of a TV binge?
Yeah, that's just rude.
I earned that TV binge.
Yeah,
Ooh, what were you watching?
I've been rewatching Jane the Virgin.
Oh, okay.
And it was getting good. That reminds me that when the drunk driver hit my front porch, drove into my house, I was also in a TV binge. It was the weekend Stranger Things, first part of the 4th season came out. It's like, why are we doing this?
Why is this
In a TV binge?
Yeah. That just ruins it.
Just ruins it. Anyway, so I got ghosts, and they're pissed at me. Can you top that, Heath?
I cannot.
Okay.
My unmitigated gall is time and the concept of it.
That has some gall.
Yeah, because you can't tell me, right? So it's the end of July. It's the end of July.
It's the end of July.
Summer's 2/3 of the way over, right? You cannot tell me that the same amount of time has passed from Memorial Day until now. Like, you can't tell me that's the same amount of time as, like, January and February, right?
Right.
Because January and February combined are, 3 years?
Yes. That's science.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is science.
And you can't. I can't believe that, I mean, you know, Amy's favorite event, the state fair, starts in a couple weeks.
Can't wait.
And then it's back to school. Then it's Christmas. Then it's 2 years of January again.
You're right.
And then around and around and around we go.
It does feel like as soon as school hits, too, we're just Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, January. Ugh.
And we got an election to throw in there, too.
I know.
Yeah.
Chaos.
Yeah. And I don't know, man. Like, we need to call the science department and get them working on this to find a solution.
Like sands through the hourglass. So are the days of our lives.
Uh-huh.
And I don't like it.
Nope.
That was an unbelievable throw in. I loved it so much.
I had to go through it in my head. I was like, is that right? Yep, that's right. Let's go.
That's right.
Yep,
That's
yep,
right.
yep,
You
yep.
nailed it. You nailed it.
I mean, ghosts don't even do anything in January and February.
No. They are quiet and dead like they should be.
Yep.
Maybe the ghosts are upset about the state fair coming too.
They could be.
could
Maybe
be.
they normally live at the state fairgrounds.
Maybe
and
they do.
There's all sorts of stuff going on there, so they moved over to your house.
I figure at least someone has died in my house over
Yeah.
the 114 years.
Yeah.
And maybe they died after a really terrible Iowa State Fair.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Bad corn dog.
Yep.
The first year they brought him out, he was the first one to try
The
it.
resident here was like, fuck. This is my life.
This is how it goes.
This is time. Time has passed.
I had to drive to Winterset this week to take my husband to his car because he had done part of Ragbri, so he drove there and then rode his bike for a while. And I was thinking, because the state fair is coming up and the bridges of Madison County, and that was the whole premise of that is that the family went out to the state fair for the week.
Yeah.
And it was adultery time.
Yeah.
Ooh. All right, everyone. Get ready. Get your Ashley Madison going.
I bet Ashley Madison is so popular in Winterset during the state fair.
Just like Grindr was popular at the RNC. Yeah.
Oh, you're right. Oh, no.
Grindr went down because of RNC activity.
Is that real? Or you just
Yeah.
made...
Yeah.
Are you
like
serious?
in Milwaukee, Grindr went down because so many people were on it.
Mm-hmm.
That is science, that they're all a bunch of hypocrites.
So hypocritical. That's amazing.
You're right. Time has some fucking gall.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your gall?
Boobs.
Oh!
You say that all the time, right?
yeah.
Your gall is boobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do they
Particularly
exist?
when-
Why do we need them?
Yeah, I'm wondering the same
Why
thing
are there
this
two?
week.
Why are there two? What if there's just a uniboob? Like a big zit, just one
like a
boob.
point? Oh.
There's an alien species out there that has just a uniboob,
Just
and
a
that's
uniboob.
it. Yeah,
I wonder if their bras are easier to shop for.
maybe.
I'm also wondering this week why they exist,
Yeah.
especially aging boobs, because I've had some weird things going on with one of mine, and I did the thing that women should never do, which is go to the doctor.
Mistake number one.
Yeah, mistake number one was assuming someone would help me with this problem.
Especially when you're over your 40s, you can't. You're in your
No,
40s.
no, but there was a series of time where the doctor kind of was, feeling around and said something like, "I don't like that," and I said, "That's not what anyone wants to hear when their boobs are being, pulverized."
Yeah.
So she said, "You need to go. We need to get, I know you just had a mammogram. We need another one. We need an ultrasound, all this stuff." So then I proceed to have more people rub and grab and activate the area that hurts profusely to basically say, "Oh, shoot, we got there too late. It burst. Your cyst burst."
Oh.
That's what they said?
Yeah, they said they basically think it's a burst cyst. Yeah.
Do they think it burst because of all the grabbing and smashing
No,
and
she said
touching?
that a lot of times there's no pain to them. They just appear, and a lot of times they resolve on their own. But she said this could indicate that it burst. That's why you're getting pain. Is something changed with it? But they couldn't find anything. She suggested as a follow-up for me to keep a journal for 1 to 2 months of my pain.
You don't keep a boob journal?
Yeah, I know. It's my mistake. I'm really regretting it.
I thought that was something they tell you in middle school. Like when,
Yeah.
when they take the boys into one room and teach them about the private parts and the
Yeah,
girls
yeah.
in the other room. I thought the other room conversation
hand
was
you out
boob
a
journal.
Journal
Yeah.
and keep track of your pain. This will be important in, 30 to 40 years.
Do you think Barnes & Noble sells specific boob journals?
If not, they should, because
yeah.
I had to make my own.
Oh, God.
Because, of course, my brain went right to spreadsheet, and I was like, I just want an easy thing to check off.
yeah.
Is this
Yeah,
happening?
yeah.
So I tried, which, of course, my boob rejected the next day by having a whole different new pain that I was like, what is this?
I
Now
don't have
to
a
add-
column for that.
Yeah! You're laughing, but that's what I said. So the end result is they said, in 2 months, maybe we'll do an MRI and see if we can find the pieces of it, to which I said, I'm good. Why are we finding... No.
What?
Pieces
In
of it?
2 months?
What are they going to do if they find the pieces of it?
I
It's
don't
not Humpty
know.
Dumpty.
No, we're not putting it back together. It's done. I think the ultimate thing is it's with all women's health is just it'll resolve. Good luck to you.
Yeah, yeah.
And the whole system is designed to give you the most anxiety it can at all times. Because she said that, then she tells me to wait in the room while she goes and makes the appointment. I've never had a doctor ask me to wait while they go make an appointment. So that freaked me out. Then when I go to the secondary place, which you should never go to a secondary location, I know that, but I did. And when I go to the second place, the first lady's like, "Oh yeah, we do this kind of digital thing." And then I said, "Well, they have me scheduled for a second appointment, like an ultrasound. Is that correct?" And she goes, "Oh, they do that automatically so they don't have to reschedule you, but that's only if they find something in the first scan." So we'll just have you wait in your gown in the little locker area. And then
Which is super fun.
Yeah. So I'm very sweaty sitting there to only have the lady come back and be like, yep, we're going to take you for an ultrasound. So immediately I break out in a full sweat because I'm like, oh, you found something. And now I'm going to ultrasound.
Jesus.
Only to have the ultrasound lady say, well, it could be a lot of reasons that you're back here.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Then to run to take it to the radiologist and then come back to me and say, you'll hear from your family doctor. You can get dressed. And Mike was very kind because he knew I was nervous and he took me to the appointment. So when I walk out, he's like, how was it? And I was like, fucking terrible. I don't know. I mean, I'm as, flummoxed as I was before.
Yes.
And basically, I don't feel good. So.
No.
Yeah.
And that was a week between telling you there was something she didn't like and your appointments. So you had to stress. And then the end result is write a journal.
Yeah, and then she called me, and again, this is going to sound terrible for anyone that has gone through this and they find something. I'm very relieved that there was nothing. They don't have to do any surgery, biopsy, aspirate, anything. I'm very relieved about that. It's more just another reminder of women in the health system that it always kind of seems to be like, oopsie, we haven't done research on that yet.
Right, we don't know.
Yeah, we have no idea why that would be happening. And the other explanations they gave me were like, well, see if caffeine affects it.
What?
Like, just pour a soda on it?
Just pour it later.
That should have been my follow-up question. So I just douse it in coffee?
I just drop my boob into a bowl of Jolt Cola.
Yeah.
See what happens.
And maybe try all the different brands.
Yeah.
Like Diet
Yeah.
Pepsi doesn't work as great, but
I was also told maybe to experiment with bras. And I was like,
what?
I don't know what that means either. Like different supportive, I'm like,
To ease the pain?
yeah, but that doesn't help.
That doesn't help.
It actually feels the best without
Yeah.
bra on. So I don't know.
Of course it does.
I have no idea. It still hurts. Update. And it's getting weirder. So that's an update. So I just keep checking on my columns. And
That is ridiculous.
it also feels like there's always this tinge of like, you don't have a very good pain tolerance, do you?
Oh.
Like this.
Meanwhile,
obviously-
you've pushed 2 children out your vag, so your pain tolerance is...
Yeah.
The way you said that sounded accusatory. I know that's not how you meant it.
You!
Did a real fucked up thing and pushed a kid out of there.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's how I personally feel
Yeah,
about
yeah.
it. But
Yeah, and there are pains that come with that are unreal.
Yeah.
So I'm not like, also it's like everything you read after 40, right? Is like, if you have anything like that, you need to consult your doctor. Like you need to, and then you do, and you sort of feel like, should I have ever come here?
Yeah, no. Because now I'm just
Right.
confused and sweaty and
Yeah.
gross.
And now I'm going to get bills for, screenings
Yes,
and all
yes,
of this
you
stuff
will.
that I'm going to be like, what? That was what?
Mm-hmm.
So.
I remember when I was in my maybe late 20s, I was having a really weird, my leg would just keep twitching, and it was getting really annoying and a little worrisome. My boyfriend at the time, who, spoiler alert, not a great guy, he suggested that I go to the doctor. So I went, and they're like, "All right, let's. This could be MS. So let's get you an MRI to really, make sure." I was like, "Okay." So I did. I got the MRI. My insurance at the time was not great, so it was $6,000. And
Out of pocket?
Yeah. And after the MRI, they're like, "Oh, no, nothing there. I guess you just have a weird twitch."
They made you pay $6,000 for nothing? Mm-hmm. Those people should be in jail.
So I was paying that like a payment plan for years. And so every month I would be reminded, it's just a weird twitch.
That's insane.
I still have the twitch, by the way. Anyway, boobs.
I remember, this isn't a boob story, but I do remember when I was 19, my mom noticed some lumps I had in my neck.
Oh.
And so I went to the doctor, and the doctor, our family doctor, was just like, "Oh, yeah, that could be cancer. We'll set you up with an appointment to get that checked out." And then he left the room, and that was it. He told a 19-year-old that alone in a doctor's office and just left the room. And then for a week, I just was like, oh, maybe I've got neck cancer.
Oh,
and then
my
I had to go to an
God.
appointment. They stuck a needle in one of the lumps and moved it around to collect tissue samples. And it wasn't. What they think it was is they thought I had mono, and I just didn't notice. But I was just tired for a while, and I assumed I was tired. And I just that's what
Wait,
they
so
think
you
it was.
get bumps like that when you
That's,
have
yeah,
mono?
that's what they thought. Yeah, there was
my
some sort of
God.
yeah. So, but yeah. I mean, I feel like doctors as a whole, and obviously, women's healthcare is more complicated than men's healthcare.
Yeah, but
doctors
it's
as
very
a
much
whole,
Similar.
Indicative
Yeah.
of like, you might have this terrible disease.
Right.
I'm out.
right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, boobs.
Oh, boobs. You got some gall.
Yeah. Well, that could lead me into my first one.
Oh yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
love to know now.
So like I said, we might be coming at this in different ways.
Yes.
I chose to come at this by looking at things from the 80s and 90s that were actually remakes
Okay.
of past things.
Oh,
Okay.
all right.
So I want to first talk about Scarface.
Oh.
Scarface was a remake?
It was indeed.
I did not know
I didn't
that.
know
So
that either.
Scarface from 1983, starring Al Pacino, is a remake of a 1932 movie that was based in like the Chicago world of bootlegging and stuff like that. So it was all about alcohol, but also like gangsters.
Okay.
So then we're transporting this to 1983, and it becomes cocaine kingpin
Love it.
Tony Montana.
Yeah.
Obviously, since the first movie was made in 1932, it was black and white. It was violent, but probably not that violent. They really upped it
Yeah.
in the 1983 version, done by Brian De Palma. And Al Pacino is Tony Montana. He's a Cuban immigrant that comes to Miami in the 1980s. He's super ambitious. He doesn't care so much about crime or, killing people.
Oh.
So he quickly becomes a cocaine kingpin. And he is able to get mansions and tigers and hot tubs and Michelle Pfeiffer. So
Oh, well.
everything you need,
Yeah.
really. A super hot Michelle Pfeiffer, by the way.
Yeah.
Good Lord. But beyond that, it's extremely violent, very over the top. A lot of over the top acting, you could say. As well.
Gratuitous.
Gratuitous, indeed. And I remember watching this very young, way too
Oh,
young.
no. Oh,
and
no.
there's a scene where Tony and his buddy, and I forget his buddy's name, are killing another guy with a chainsaw in a
Oh,
shower.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And I was like, okay. Something that's going to
seems
scar me
messy.
forever. Yeah. It was very messy. That was part of the thing. So did you saw Scarface?
I have not seen it all the way through. I've seen, I know the end scene where they're, in that giant foyer, and it's just,
Say hello to my little
yes,
friends.
and it's just guns and guns and guns and guns
and
guns.
a mountain
and,
of cocaine.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's probably what most people know about it. And the story itself, it's pretty standard rise to crime lordness, but
Right.
lots and lots of violence, lots of Al Pacino doing his thing, lots of Michelle Pfeiffer looking terrific, and it's all a remake.
Yeah.
Wow. I had no
It's
idea.
fantastic. Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
Speaking of gory chainsaws.
Yeah.
No, that's a bad segue.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to talk about Queer Eye for the Straight Guy.
Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I know the original wasn't from the 80s or 90s, and the reboot is certainly not from the 80s or 90s, but it was something that was rebooted. So,
Yes.
Queer Eye for the Straight Guy was known as it was known for its first couple seasons, came on Bravo in July of 2003, and this is a couple years before Bravo got into the Real Housewives business. So, the premise of Queer Eye is 5 homosexuals, each experts in their particular field. They ambush an unsuspecting person and show them how they're living their life wrong. And when you describe it like that to me now, it sounds a lot like when the Mormons show up at your front door and they're like, by the way, you need to do X, Y, Z or you're going to hell. You know?
Right. It doesn't seem as fun as it's
Right.
been, portrayed.
That's true.
And so each episode begins with the Fab Five, as the primary cast members are known. They're on their way to their subject/victim, as we'll call them. While they review that person's histories, their issues, and their goals for the future, and blah, blah, blah. When they arrive, the subject is usually surprised, but it seems to me like they would have noticed the camera crew. Like, there's no way.
Right.
There's
Yep.
no way no producers, somebody has shown up ahead of time to,
Yes. Set up the shots.
Right.
And, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the Fab Five invade the person's house, and they go through all their stuff. And if 5 strangers did that unannounced, to me, I would either go into fight or flight mode and just start punching people, or I just like run away. You never see me again. I would just run all the way to heaven.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, which is a long run.
Yeah.
That's a real long run.
It's a toughie.
commitment.
Yeah.
It's a commitment. So next, the Fab Five take their subject out to buy new clothes or pick out new furniture or get a haircut. And during these trips, whichever member of the Fab Five is present, they'll impart some sort of wisdom on the episode's subject, whether that be why the French tuck is important or how the shape of your face influences your haircut. This is when, as a viewer, I sit and wonder if the subject is absorbing any of the information being shared with them. Like, if you didn't care about matching your belt and your shoes 2 days ago, why do you care now? Like, what, you know, like, what, just because...
Especially as cameras are on you and, like, it's a very, yeah, you're right. There's no internalization of this. Yeah.
And there's also, I mean, this is a lot of these makeover shows. It's just like, you can't go into someone's house and throw all their clothes away and then take them out and buy 3 new outfits and be like, you're good to go. Like, that's not how clothes work.
No.
What was the show,
What Not to Wear.
What Not to Wear.
Yeah.
Where they do away the entire, you're right. Each time I'd be like, I don't like this. This makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And they give them, I think it was $5,000 to buy new clothes, but that was the outfits they'd pick out. I mean, it was
super expensive. And
these goddamn shows.
God damn it.
I tell you.
So there's also a cooking segment where the subject learns to make something new. And I'm not sure that learning how to make one new dish is like going to transform someone's life. You know, you can't just make the same thing.
I don't know.
over
Have
and
you ever
over.
made a stellar stir fry? Because I never feel more alive when it turns out.
Really?
What about when you put a mango in that stir fry?
Right?
Oh,
Oh, no. Look at me. I'm just kidding.
The weakest of the segments on the original version and on the reboot is the culture segment.
Mm-hmm.
On the original series, if memory serves, they just talk about things like how to behave at a job interview or learning to dance. And on the reboot, it's usually Karamo trying to get someone to cry.
Yep.
And the attempts are usually pretty heavy-handed, but he's also got a fairly decent success rate. And we've talked about this when we go see the Des Moines K-Men's Chorus, and the conductor always tells us you're going to cry.
Yeah.
And all 3 of us are just like, the fuck we are.
Yep. I take that as a challenge.
I won't cry. Even if it is touching.
If I saw Karamo coming at me with a camera crew, I'd be like, go ahead and try it, buddy. I dare you.
Watch this steel wall.
Yeah. I'm going to gray rock you out of here.
Yeah.
So the original version of the series ran from July 2003 through October 2007, which it seemed like it was on for longer than
A lot
I was just
longer.
going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think they did that thing Bravo does, which I think they just replayed the shit out of it and kind of burned everybody out.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
The reboot premiered on Netflix in 2018. And the 5 areas of expertise were the same for both. There's food and wine, there's home decor, there's grooming, there's fashion, and then the culture / lifestyle weakness.
Mm-hmm.
The format stayed the same. But the tone of the reboot's really, really different, because on the original one, they'd come in and they'd really kind of mock the subject and make fun of them and like your clothes are shit and like all this kind of stuff.
That's right.
And that wouldn't really fly these days. And so on the newer version, they're funny, but it's not, it's not mean-spirited.
Yeah, it's
right?
more inclusive, funny.
Yes.
Like, yeah, absolutely.
And, on the original version of it, it was, they would just pick slobs, basically. And on the new one, it's usually someone who kind of deserves, a boost in life. Someone who's, fallen on hard times or something like that, or, spent a lot of their time helping others or whatever. Maybe hasn't spent a lot of time, taking care of themselves.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, the original series ran for 5 seasons. The reboot is 8 seasons in, and it's still going.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I didn't
And
realize
there's
it was still
multiple. Like, there
going.
was the Japan one, and there was,
Okay.
The reboot had a little bit of bad PR last year when Bobby Burke, the home decor guy, said he was leaving. He didn't renew his contract because he didn't think anyone on the cast was renewing their contract. He thought they were done with the show, but it turns out everyone else had renewed their contract except for him.
Oh, that sounds like miscommunication,
That
maybe
sounds like
on purpose.
sabotage.
Yes.
So he's being replaced on the upcoming season by Jeremiah Brent, who's friends with Tan France. And there was kind of speculation that Tan France and Bobby Burke didn't get along, and there was sort of an attempt to get Bobby Burke replaced.
That's so. Cause Bobby Burke does all the fucking work on the show. So, like, I wonder if there was any sort of like
Yeah.
weird jealousy or
Yeah, and he does. I mean, yeah, he does a good job. But yeah, you're right. There's a very big difference between like redecorating 3
Your
rooms in
house.
someone's house and taking someone out to buy new pants.
Yeah.
Like those are like,
or a haircut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Around the same time, Anthony posted a bunch of photos on social media of his weekend-long bachelor party, and it turned out that Tan France was the only cast member that was invited to that.
Oh, shoot.
Ooh, boy.
Which led to lots of speculations about how good of friends the cast really is.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, at the end of the day, like, technically they're coworkers. I mean,
Yeah,
the way the show's
you don't
presented,
have
it's like
to-
they're best buddies.
Yeah.
But in real life, you know, they didn't know each other before.
Right.
Right.
They got cast on the show.
They're essentially actors
Right.
on a show. Yeah.
So, and Jonathan Van Ness, you know, he's the non-binary grooming person, has been accused of having rage issues by a few people that have
Whoa,
previously worked on
really?
the show. He just kind of came out and was like, "I'm sorry you felt that way." That was sort of his response to it.
So I
And,
wonder if this is going to last much longer, if it's going to sort of implode.
It might be winding down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see.
It felt like, too, this time around, they were a little more overtly, not necessarily political, but like trying to, because maybe it was coming out during the Trump presidency, like trying to reach out to like red state people and
Yes.
like, you know, and like even
Yeah.
just having their presence there to try and change minds and hearts and all of the things and, you know,
Yeah.
to varying results. But
Yeah, that's another good distinction to make because on the original version, a lot of it was in and around New York.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
And on the reboot, like they did a couple seasons in Kansas City, they've
Yep.
done a couple around New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
They've kind of gone out to different places that are, like you said, more red states.
Yeah.
Um,
Which led to some really touching stuff because
Yeah.
it would be like, you know, guys that had never met gay men before or something and, you know, actually start thinking about, you know,
Thinking about it differently.
yeah,
so yeah, that's all I got.
Queer Eye. Good
Queer Eye.
stuff.
Well, I did things that came out in the 80s or 90s and have been remade in the
okay.
last couple years
Nice.
or whatever.
So,
So
like we all came at this a little
yeah,
different.
and I have a varying things. They're not all. I'm going to start with which I know is weird for me. I know. A music selection.
Let's
Oh.
do it.
This one, I'm just going to preface, it hurts my heart.
Oh,
It hurts me. But I'm going to share it anyway.
okay.
And that is the song Fast Car by Tracy Chapman. It was originally came out in 1988, April 5th, as part of her self-titled album, and currently holds the rank of 167 in the list of 500 best songs ever, which that's some staying power,
Yeah.
to be
Wow.
honest. Yeah.
There's a lot of songs.
This essentially the story of the song is that it's a working woman struggling to overcome poverty. So Luke Combs, who is a country singer, decided in 2003 that he might like to sing this song. And I'm stretching a little bit of the remake part because he changes literally nothing about the song. He doesn't change any lyrics.
You meant 2023, right? Not
Yeah.
2003.
Oh, did I say 2023? Okay. So he didn't change any lyrics. He didn't really change like melody or anything like that. He definitely added like a country twang. I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds more like a country song, which is partially vocals and not having her vocals on it. So I decided that the best way to compare them is the first time they both played it live, to see. So to start, she first played it live at Nelson Mandela's 70th birthday celebration.
Okay.
Which
Okay.
was in
All
this
right.
ginormous stadium.
Yep, we're starting off strong.
Yep.
I remember that. I was there.
He first performed it at what I assume was a concert based on the amount of women wearing mini skirts and cowboy boots and
Okay.
kind of being confused by the song in the video. Like they're swaying and they're every once in a while we're seeing like car, but like no other real recognition of the lyrics. And he was wearing a Vikings hat, which just seemed off-putting to me for the song. I
Okay.
just couldn't quite get there.
Uh-huh.
He's got like a full American flag guitar
Oh,
strap.
boy.
And it's just a very like typical country. Like he's got on blue jeans and cowboy boots. He has on some kind of Bass Pro like fish shirt, you know, where all the things zip off and whatever. And so comparing that to Tracy Chapman, just kind of in all black, doing her first live performance of this song. And the thing that I felt like came out of both of them was that the word feeling. Like Luke Combs, objectively fine. It sounds like a country song. Like you might pass over it if there hadn't even been this first, you know, it sounds like a country song when he does it. But when you watch her or listen to her sing it, it's entirely different. Like there's this calmness to it. There's a quietness to that song. And you can feel that. And she just has a presence. Like she doesn't have to do anything to make that better. She doesn't have to add anything. She's literally just standing on stage with a guitar and sings it. And it's beautiful. He just sounds like, if you were ever in choir in high school, you know that there was that one person that thought they were super good. And like they'd try out for every solo and they'd be like, we're like, we don't need any of that.
Yep.
You are not Whitney Houston. That's kind of what it feels like. Like he's trying so much to add his voice in. And you're like, you just picked the wrong song to do that, sir. They also then performed this together at the 2024 Grammys. And I would just like to point out a few differences in the way that they both approach this on stage.
Yeah.
Number one, he's wearing an earpiece. She is not. I find that telling as a musician. Number two, he is not allowed to have a guitar. She does have a guitar. He does not have a guitar.
He didn't have a guitar?
No,
That's right.
no guitar. He's just sort of in a suit, like holding onto his chest when he tries to sing. You can also see him mouthing the words while she's singing. It seemed fine. I mean, clearly she agreed to it on some level. She sort of gives him a half hug at the end and like a tight smile, but everyone's a little bit like, huh. So my final verdict between the two is that obviously,
What's it gonna be?
yeah, this isn't a contest. I don't even know what to do with this, and I'm still angry, except for the fact that hopefully more people found the original if they didn't know it already.
I think they did. And the fact that it brought her out where she hadn't performed in a long time, you know, even though she had to share the stage with him, it was glorious to see her. And she looked great.
And she also, I mean, again, someone backed up to her house with a dump truck full of cash because she wrote that song.
That's
so
true.
him, as popular as his version was with people, like she made a lot of money.
She
off
did
that.
make
That's
a lot
true.
of money. Yeah, which is the silver lining of the whole thing is that she definitely deserves that. And, you know, Luke, I appreciate that you like that song. I do too. But I don't have any desire to then go remake it.
That reminds me, there was some CMT did a tribute to Reba McEntire a few years ago. And so it was one of those things where, you know, that person has to sit in the audience and watch a bunch of other people sing their songs when they'd probably just as well be out there doing it themselves, you know?
Exactly.
And it's somehow, somewhere along the line, someone decided this is a tribute to you. And it's like, okay.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah. But Sam Hunt, who is he's a country performer, sang Fancy. And didn't change any of the words. And if you know the song Fancy, it's about a teenage prostitute.
Yep.
And it was, you know, it was fun, I guess. I don't know.
It was a misstep.
Yeah, to see
Like,
this,
That doesn't seem right.
this handsome 6 foot tall man up there being like, you know, my mom sent me off to be a whore.
Just do
I
what the
felt
nice
like-
man says. Yeah.
In that instance, they literally there was no female country star that could match her vocals. So they were just like, we're just going to have a guy do it so it's not a comparison.
Right. But what's funny, too, I mean, Reba didn't sing the original version of Fancy.
No.
That is a cover.
Bobby Gentry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my next one, again, I'm looking at things from the 80s or 90s that were remakes of stuff before, and I'm talking about the 1998 version of Psycho.
Oh, when you said Brian De Palma before, I thought of that. This was not a great idea, was it?
Nope, sure wasn't. This came from director Gus Van Sant, and it is a shot-for-shot remake of the original Hitchcock movie from 1960, even using the original music, which Danny Elfman did a little bit of extra stuff on, but still, the original stuff. So it's got Vince Vaughn, Julianne Moore, Viggo Mortensen, William H. Macy, and Anne Heche. So the original movie, you know, it's a convoluted sort of story. It's sort of true. It's not true crime. It's crime, but then there's this huge twist about the killer, and, you know, there's costumes and a shower scene, and that's all you need to know. This Psycho, this one, the first one is known as one of the best noir movies, one of the best movies ever. You know, it's iconic in so many ways, which again leads you to wonder why.
Right.
Why do this?
Yeah.
This shot-for-shot remake was an absolute commercial failure.
And it was released at Christmas time, I remember.
Was it?
Yeah, it came out like in
Another-
the middle of December, and it's like, why would someone want to go to this at Christmas time?
And it got super polarizing reviews from critics who criticized the fact that it was so similar to the original film. It won the Golden Raspberry Awards for Worst Remake and Worst Director, and was nominated for Worst Actress, Anne Heche. Yeah. Anne Heche she took on the role of Janet Leigh in The Shower getting, killed. So Gus Van Sant, when he was asked why he wanted to remake the film in this manner, he responded, "Why not? It's a marketing scheme. Why does a studio ever remake a film? Because they have this little thing they've forgotten about that they could put in the marketplace and make money from."
Huh.
Interesting.
Doesn't really inspire me to want to go see it.
I appreciate the transparency, I guess.
Yeah.
Like,
But it was also weird that he was coming off of Good Will Hunting and all of that great buzz and all of that really wonderful, like, artistic stuff. And then you're just like, yep, I'm just going to make this movie for money. And there was some really weird choice things that were said about it. This one's pretty bad. Literary critic Camille Paglia, she commented that the only reason to watch it was to see Anne Heche being assassinated.
Oh, jeez.
And it reminded me this was around the time of Ellen and Anne like being turned away from the movie premiere and like a lot of like polarizing stuff. So apparently she was on the anti-gay side. And then Roger Ebert wrote that the film is an invaluable experiment in the theory of cinema because it demonstrates that a shot-by-shot remake is pointless. Genius apparently resides between or beneath the shots or in chemistry that cannot be timed or counted. So yeah,
that's actually thoughtful.
It's very thoughtful. And it was putting more thought behind, the idea of why this wasn't a great idea and why it didn't work. But yeah, so a real weird experiment that went awry that didn't make any of the money that Gus Van Sant was apparently hoping for. And yeah, we look back on it now. And, you know, Vince Vaughn, it was interesting to see him as the bad guy, you know. And also they added the only thing, like, I think the only things they added that weren't in the original movie was, one, it was in color. Two, it was a little bloodier. And three, there was a scene where in the original one, Norman Bates is just watching the Janet Leigh's character through like a hole in the wall. This time around, he's watching and he's masturbating. Oh. So that's the major contribution they made to the remake.
Which we probably could have assumed.
We didn't need to, Yeah.
Huh. Well.
Psycho.
Yeah, it is weird. Like, why go to the trouble to make it if you're not going to bring a new perspective to it?
It's a good point.
Yeah. Because when you think about some of the best remakes, is it keeps the original flavor, but maybe it updates it for the time, or it, you know,
or it explores a character differently, or you know, brings a different kind of viewpoint. But
or if we're talking about music, I mean, if that had been a success, you know, transferring it to another genre, like seeing if that worked. You know, obviously it didn't, but yeah.
Well, I think you have to change more is kind of what the, you know, thought process is. I didn't realize it was a shot-for-shot remake.
Yeah. And they really, I remember when they marketed it, I mean, they really pushed that it was almost like they didn't want people to think they were disrespecting the original.
Yes.
You know, it's like, great, but then why do it?
Yeah, why do I need to see it then?
It reminds me of, if you've ever taken the Universal Studios tour, Universal Studios in Hollywood, when you're on the tram, like you go by the Bates Motel, right? You go by it, and there is an actor that stands outside of it that looks like Norman Bates. And he kind of notices the tram and then starts walking and then running at the tram, and like he catches up to it, and it's the middle of the goddamn day. It still freaked me out.
That is creepy.
Yes.
Oh my God, I'd be super creeped out.
That would be terrifying. Well, in this day and age, also, you can't always assume that person is an actor or like they didn't break onto the lot to do it or something. True. That's where my mind goes right away. It's like, oh no.
Although I do imagine the actor doing that has a great time.
It would be so fun.
Yeah.
Speaking of a great time, let's talk about Scooby-Doo.
Let's do
on this adult program.
It's important. Let's just be honest.
It's a cultural touchstone.
Yeah.
It is.
So, Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Premiered in 1969. As most people know, the show features 4 American teenagers and their Great Dane, who can kind of talk, and they solve mysteries. So the original iteration of the show, the antagonist of each episode was represented as a ghost or some sort of supernatural being. But in real life, it was a local grouch who would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for those meddling kids. That's kind of
goddamn kids.
The way it always ended.
You kids.
And I don't know. There was a point in my life, and I don't know the day, I wish I did, where I went from identifying with the children to being the local grouch.
You're right.
At some point, some teenager's going to bust me for doing some shit, and I'm going to be like, fuck off, you kids.
No.
The internet is pretty fuzzy on this, but from what I can tell, the Scooby-Doo universe has generated about 15 different TV series,
Jeez.
13 direct-to-video / streaming movies, 2 live-action films, and 1 animated film that was set for theatrical release but moved to video on demand because of the pandemic. So there's a lot of Scooby-Doo content out there. My personal favorite parts of the old Scooby-Doo cartoons is when there was the montage of the ghost / supernatural being chasing the kids and Scooby, and it was set to music. For me, I don't know why it really elevated the material for me. In most of the Scooby-Doo shows and movies, each of the 5 main characters play a pretty narrow role. Fred's always the leader. Daphne's pretty, but she's not that sharp. Velma's the smart one, and Shaggy and Scooby are always very hungry and very scared. And collectively, their name is Mystery Inc. In 2023, Velma premiered on HBO Max, and the series told the origin story of Mystery Inc. As you may have guessed from the title, in this series, Velma's the main character, and Scooby-Doo isn't even in it. Scooby's not around. Velma is an adult entry into the Scooby-Doo universe, and it's executive produced by Mindy Kaling, who's also the voice of Velma. And I'm not sure who was asking for a more mature take on these characters, but I think that person might be a pervert. I don't know who's watching.
I need to rationalize this.
Yeah, no, I don't know why they thought that and said, "Oh, I should move forward with this."
Yeah.
So in the show, Velma, Fred, Daphne, and Shaggy all attend the same high school, and they know each other, but they aren't really kind of the solid unit that they are in previous versions of the show. Velma is snarkier in this version than in the past, and she has a crush on Fred. Her mother is missing, and she hallucinates whenever she tries to solve a mystery.
Jesus.
And a hallucinating teen is about as much fun as it sounds.
Oh my God.
Yeah. No.
Fred's a dope and a late bloomer who hasn't gone through puberty yet, even though he's 16.
That explains a lot.
Somehow it seems mean. I don't know why it seemed like I don't know. I don't know why. I mean, I know Fred's not a real person, but it just seems Shaggy's a reporter for the school newspaper and is Velma's best friend. And for some reason, this version of Shaggy hates drugs and isn't afraid of everything. He also goes by his birth name Norval. So basically, Shaggy's a completely different person than the version we've all seen before. Daphne is, as you'd expect, a popular girl at school and used to be close with Velma and has a crush on her.
Daphne has a crush on Velma.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. She has 2 moms, but I don't think that's why she has a crush on Velma. Like, I thought that was a weird choice to give her 2 moms and
make her sort of gay.
Yeah.
Sort of.
I'm assuming with Daphne, she's at least bi, since she goes for Fred at some point.
Yeah.
So to recap, Daphne has a crush on Velma, who has a crush on Fred, who's insecure about his body. Shaggy's a narc, and Velma's dealing with mental health issues. So, show of hands, who's laughing?
What demographic was this for? Like, was this for kids, for adults? What the hell?
Also, I feel like a lot of this context was there in the cartoons.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So, I haven't watched all of the Scooby-Doo content ever produced.
Oh, thank
Okay,
God.
that's good.
But I've seen a lot of it. And Velma, the show, seems to be trying to be different for the sake of being different. The tone's really strange to me. It goes from funny to provocative to serious a lot, and it all just seems kind of off. I don't know who decided that we needed a gritty origin story for these characters, but I don't think we did. I could not get all the way through the first season of Velma. I watched about 2/3 of it, and I really tried, and I couldn't make it happen. Apparently there's a second season that came out. My HBO Max or Max has stopped pushing it on me.
Okay.
They stopped recommending it.
They've realized you're good.
He got his spell, yeah.
One of the reviews on Rotten Tomatoes says, and I quote, "Jinkies, the radical reworking of the beloved mystery team, has plenty of attitude and style, but it doesn't have the first clue how to turn its clever subversion into engaging fun." Which I think is probably... That's the best summary of it. They forgot to make it fun. And I like Mindy Kaling. I mean, I really do.
Yeah.
Like, generally, I gravitate towards her stuff. But yeah, the whole thing is it's just weird.
So do they have the song? Scooby, Scooby,
They do not.
Where are you?
They do
No?
not. Nope.
I guess it has no place in a gritty origin story.
Yeah, and if Scooby-Doo's missing, then
Yeah, that's true.
it takes on a different meaning. Where are you?
Where are you? Where'd you go?
Yeah, we need you. We're falling apart, clearly.
It feels like it was the same idea behind turning Fresh Prince of Bel-Air into a gritty drama. Yeah. Like, who asked for that? No one.
No one.
Nope.
No one. It feels like we've sort of discovered that, one, if you're going to do a remake, it's got to be different, but also be
Right.
careful
Right.
how far different you
Yes.
go.
It's a delicate
It's a delicate balance.
Yeah.
And I have another remake that didn't achieve it.
Okay.
And that is the Garfield movie.
Oh.
Now, to say that there were original Garfield movies is a little bit cheeky, I guess, because they more had like direct to DVD or VHS at that time, you know, like Halloween Adventure, Happy Holidays, Garfield. They had a 9 Lives one that told 9 different stories, but essentially it was just the animation from the comic strips, you know, come to life. They basically told the stories from that. You knew exactly what you were getting. You got Nermal, you got Odie, you got Garfield eating lasagna, you got John being awkward. That's what you got. This movie that came out in 2024 is the origin story of Garfield.
What? Did we need that?
We didn't.
Okay.
We absolutely didn't.
Okay.
No. It makes little to no sense. And
Also, can you make sure your son does not listen to this episode?
yes, this episode, he will not be. He truly actually enjoys listening to this,
Yes.
but he will not listen to this episode because I cannot break his 10-year-old heart, as he loved this movie with deep.
He'd be so
deep.
devastated to hear that you
Think
did
it's
not
bad.
like it.
Yeah, he would be, because he had the theatrical experience of his life, apparently. So the first bad decision they made was they went ahead and said, Chris Pratt, we need you.
Oh, no.
We need you to voice Garfield. So that was misstep
God
number
damn
1.
it.
Misstep number 2, which is almost worse than Chris Pratt, is that they had so many fantastically talented people on this project that had the tiniest snippets of roles that you were like, oh, there was a moment in the movie where you felt like there was a glimpse of hope, like this is going to be great. And then no, they literally have one line. Some examples of this: Bowen Yang,
Oh.
Snoop Dogg, Cecily Strong. I mean, she has a bigger part, but it's some of these people just aren't utilized very well. Hannah Waddingham, Samuel L. Jackson, and Brett Goldstein.
Samuel L. Jackson?
Was he Odie?
No, it was a famous, I didn't know him, but Evan did. It's like a famous YouTuber comedian voiced Odie, even though he has no lines, just the noises. I didn't realize that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
sure.
I don't know what to say about this, except that I had the deep-rooted feeling that Garfield sold out. I'm assuming that in the last...
Garfield.
Yeah.
Lasagna's not free.
Lasagna's not free. And I don't know, his books just aren't selling anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like what happened is he got in deep financial trouble, and they said, look, we've got this movie. We can't pay you a lot, but we have some killer product placements that are going to bring in crazy advertising dollars. And he's like, that sounds up my alley. So besides watching this weird origin story of Garfield that makes little to no sense, you are bombarded with Olive Garden ads in terms of everything that cat eats is from Olive Garden.
Oh.
He's open the fridge. There's Olive Garden leftovers. Can we order from Olive Garden? Let's get a lasagna from Olive Garden.
My
Let's
God.
have more breadsticks from Olive Garden. FedEx. Who knew? Big Garfield fans. A lot of deliveries from FedEx throughout the thing. And it is clear as day, their logo, it is FedEx. Coca-Cola. A lot of that placement in there. And that's just a few that I can remember were the most egregious. But this movie is truly Garfield and product placement. Like, let's just see how we can work this in.
But it's weird because it's like obviously for kids, and it's like, are kids like, I love Olive Garden, I love FedEx.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I get soda. You know, like I can make that connection. But like, are kids
Kids
just
are like, I love some FedEx.
yeah,
Yeah,
don't
going
ship UPS, mom.
I love tracking on FedEx.com.
Yeah, there's so many, you just left with more questions. One, I had a whole different appreciation for John. I just felt bad for the guy. He has no love interest in this one. His cat just keeps disappearing and he is wrought over it, and then comes back and just charges thousands of dollars worth of Olive Garden to his card and gets new recliners delivered by FedEx, and John's just like, thank God you're back. And I thought, the toxic relationship used to be between Garfield and Odie.
Yeah.
And it's clearly between Garfield and John now, and it's hard to watch, frankly.
Also, you have moved from identifying with Garfield to the adult.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I no longer think that Garfield's cute or charming. I
Nope.
think you're a jerk. That's
He's
what
an
I think.
abuser.
He is. All you had to do, there's a part where he legitimately gets kidnapped and John doesn't know where he is. That's not his fault. He can't let John know where he is. But he, right on the heels of getting back and John being the most relieved he's ever been in his life, he just up and leaves again on another venture, but doesn't bother to say anything.
What a dick.
Yeah, you gotta say something. Also, where the hell was Nermal? No Nermal anywhere. That's clearly a key thing that you
Which
need
one
to
was
see.
Nermal?
The little annoying cat that kind of
Okay.
had a crush on Garfield,
Okay.
and he never knew quite how to deal with her. It was great.
Okay.
It was like a little foil for Garfield, and nowhere to be found. Not anywhere.
That's suspect.
Of course, this spawned a bunch of new books and things like that. And as I have mentioned before, my son is a huge Garfield fan. However, even he has drawn the lines at the books because he doesn't feel like they are authentic to the original comics, which I would have to agree with. They're more like the movie, like here's the movie, pretend put in comic strips. And he has a deep appreciation. He owns many, 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 many Garfield books and is not pleased with those.
I like that the 10-year-old is a purist.
Yeah,
And
he's like,
yeah.
this isn't right. The movie's great, but this isn't right.
Okay.
I will tell you that he has a Garfield light that he reads by at night. Like it glows up Garfield. He is Garfield's biggest fan.
That's so cute.
As the parent that took him, I would say stick to the original videos. I've watched some of them with him that, they're specials. You can stream them different places. They're great. Very funny. He loves them. Don't give your money to Olive Garden and FedEx. I don't know what else to say. It's just such a weird, it was such a indicator of the times that we're in 2024, right? Like the product placement is much more important than the storyline. And that was never clear. Because if you give Snoop Dogg as a dog one line in Garfield,
What are you doing?
what are you doing? I thought, here we go. This is going to be good. Now we got a character. And then immediately never
Just
saw him again.
wasting Snoop Dogg.
Wasting talent everywhere.
That's ridiculous.
How dare they?
How dare.
Well, I'm sorry you had to sit through that.
Things you do for your kids.
Also, I suspect, I've never had it, but I suspect lasagna from Olive Garden is subpar
I
at
would think
best.
so too.
Yeah.
And the other thing about Garfield was that the food was always, it's kind of like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like the food was always cartoon enough that it somehow looked good.
Yeah.
But it's like they were trying to match a little bit. Like he's ordering Olive Garden, so the breadsticks need to look a certain way. And
Oh my
and I'm like, this
God.
isn't working. It's
You
not
know,
working.
somebody from Olive Garden corporate had to go to the animation studio and okay this stuff. And be
Yeah.
like, yeah, that
No.
doesn't look right.
The
Yeah.
top of our lasagna is a little more brown.
Yeah.
Like we brown that cheese, so I'm going to need a few more bubbles
Yeah.
Oh my God.
on that lasagna.
And then that guy went home and he was like, day well done.
I got to tell you, Ethel. I got to tell you. And she said, I told you to call me Grandma. And he's like, Grandma, listen, I am killing it. I got us in the Garfield movie. Like Olive Garden's going to see an uprising like you've never seen before. And then she's like, aren't they closing 23 stores this month? And then he says, Ethel, we never talk about that. And then
She's
Why you
like,
gotta
call
be
me
so-
Grandma.
Why you got to be so negative, Ethel?
yeah. You never appreciate my accomplishments.
I'm going to go to my room.
I rented it out. Anyway.
Wow. Okay. Well, we were talking about bad remakes
Yeah.
or bad, updates or whatever. I've actually got some cover songs from the 80s or 90s that were actually covers that were actually good.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
First up, the Oak Ridge Boys, Elvira.
That was a cover?
It was a cover.
Oh my God.
It was a cover of a song made by Dallas Frazier in 1966.
Huh.
And then it went on to be recorded by Kenny Rogers, and that didn't do well.
Oh.
But Oak Ridge Boys took it and shot it straight to heaven.
Shot it straight to heaven.
Yes. Another one,
Okay.
Laura Branigan's Gloria is a cover.
Oh.
The 1982 smash, which I still love so much, is a remake of a 1979 song from an Italian singer, Umberto Tozzi.
Congratulations on
Was
that.
it the
That was
original
impressive.
version in English or Italian?
That's a good question. I would assume Italian.
Huh.
Also, as I was looking into this, turns out she was doing tons of covers. That was her thing. She was
Yeah.
making a lot of covers of Italian songs.
Oh.
Interesting.
Another one, Angel in the Morning from Juice Newton. 1981. Angel of the Morning, was made in the mid-'60s from songwriter Chip Taylor. And there were a few various recordings from a few different people, but then it was only Juice Newton that made it happen. Juice Newton.
So what'd you name your baby? Juice? Okay.
This is a nerdy thing to say, but like 2 days ago, that was the Wordle, and it took me so long because I couldn't think of like basic juice. Like I could not come up with that.
Oh boy, you should have had Juice Newton playing.
I should have.
Yeah. Another interesting one, and this is maybe only interesting to me, is China Girl from David Bowie is a cover.
Oh.
It's a cover of Iggy Pop. And it was actually David Bowie and Iggy Pop that wrote it together in the late 70s when they were collaborating on a couple different albums together. There's a thing that I read a while back, couldn't find it anywhere, so I don't know if I made it up or I just heard it somewhere, is that David Bowie recorded it in 1983 because Iggy Pop was not doing well financially and he wanted to help out his friend.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh.
Also part of the legend is they were lovers.
Mm.
Finally, perhaps my favorite one is I Think We're Alone Now by Tiffany.
That was a remake?
That was a remake from Tommy James and the Shondells
Whoa.
in the 60s. Tiffany covered the song when she was 15 for her debut album, Tiffany, in 1987. And when Tiffany's manager and producer gave her like the original song, she hated it. And mostly because she thought the song was neither modern enough nor hip enough. But according to Tiffany, she also did not know that the song is about the prohibition of teenage sex. That went over her head. So they remade the song, despite her, objections. And when Tiffany played it to her friends, they started to dance. And she was like, oh, okay, I guess let's do this. I Think We're Alone Now was her biggest hit.
Uh-huh.
Her version of the song spent 2 weeks at excuse me.
Numero uno.
Number one spot.
Also, I found this detail out, and it made me laugh so hard. The accompanying music video shot in shopping malls in Utah.
Wow.
I didn't know they were in Utah, but yeah, I know the whole thing. It's just her performing in shopping malls.
Yeah, apparently it was 4 different malls in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if you think about that as a guy group singing, that takes on a weird connotation.
Yep, and the original is a little. It's a different vibe.
Okay.
Yeah.
A little more,
With Tiffany,
salty.
With Tiffany, it was like it felt very like adolescent.
Yeah.
Like I think we're alone now.
Yeah.
We can kiss, maybe.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Whereas Tommy James and the Shondells, he was probably gonna get on that girl.
Mm-hmm.
He was going to dolphin it, as Shady Vance would say.
Do what dolphins
He
do.
was gonna
Do what
fuck that
dolphins
couch.
She also sings I Saw Him Standing There, which is
That's
a
right.
cover of the Beatles.
That's
I
right.
believe.
Yeah.
And I've seen Tiffany perform live
What?
Yes, you have.
on the free stage at the State Fair.
I was supposed to, but it was raining, and I said no.
No, that's the right choice. But also, wow, how was that?
Oh, it was fine.
Yeah.
I mean, she did a. Des Moines is a market where people that were popular 30 years ago will show up and sing for us.
Yeah.
If we
Yeah.
need
But
them
they have to take an Uber from their hotel to
Right.
the stage.
Yeah, she was running behind because she had to. She had to take an Uber from her hotel to the State Fair, and I think it had to be really big to get the whole because the whole band was there with her, like to get everybody there. So they were running behind. She was barefoot. I remember that.
At the Iowa State Fair, good God, you're going to get hepatitis for sure.
Hepatitis A, B, C, D,
all of them.
all of them.
Yeah.
And I do remember she closed out with, I think we're alone now, but it was like a 17-minute version of it. Like it just kept going on and on and on and on and on and on.
No, we
and
don't
on.
need that.
And I mean, she sounded good, but still, I was just like, I gotta go to work tomorrow.
Yeah, let's wrap
I would
this
like to
up.
be alone now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh.
I want to ask you this, Amy, live
Yes.
on the podcast.
Oh, let's hear it.
What did you think of the Wallflowers cover of David Bowie's Heroes that they recorded for the film Godzilla?
That is an excellent question.
That is such a
And
specific question. I
My
love it.
answer is pure hatred.
Uh-huh.
Oh, shit.
Yep, it was. It shouldn't have been done,
Uh-huh.
especially because it was for God fucking Zilla. How dare you? Because the song is about like 2 lovers across the Berlin Wall. It's about like serious stuff. Not that Godzilla isn't serious, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good question. Good probing question. You know how to probe.
I'm a prober.
Yep.
You're laughing. I like how you're just waiting for us to stop laughing. Oh no.
I don't know. What I'm going to talk about now, I mean, it's not really, it's a real, it's not much of a segue. We're
Okay.
sort of, it's...
Pivot.
It's Sex in the City. Speaking of probing.
There we go.
I almost
Lots of
did this
probing.
one.
Yeah.
Lots of probing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows about Sex in the City and its sequel series, And Just Like That, which came out recently. Sex in the City premiered in June of 1996, and it follows the lives of 4 friends living, working, and dating in New York City.
And sexin'.
It's Carrie and Miranda and Charlotte and Samantha. And one of the things that was notable about the original series when it premiered was its pretty frank discussion and depiction of sex. It's not that there weren't shows and movies that discussed sex, like Sex and the City did, but they weren't really shows that did it that weren't kind of considered a little bit distasteful. Like, it was brought it from like Cinemax After Dark into the light, into the daytime. Yeah. The original series was on for 6 seasons and concluded in February of 2004. The first 2 seasons, if you remember, had characters speaking directly to the camera, which they stopped doing in season 3. I thought they stopped earlier than that, but and it was the right move because it was weird. It was a real weird thing. The 4 main characters over the course of the series go through lots of relationships and breakups, and one of the most notable probably being when the character Burger broke up with Carrie via Post-it note.
Oh, Ron Livingston, how dare you?
That read, "I'm sorry, I can't. Don't hate me." And for me, the "don't hate me" really kind of sends it over the top, because how fucking dare you break up with me via Post-it note and then tell me how you want me to feel about it?
Exactly.
Facts.
How
Yes.
dare
Yeah.
you?
That was very much the epitome of a dude.
And Ron Livingston's from Des Moines.
Sure is.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
As with lots of shows that feature 4 female main characters, there was character archetypes in play here. There was the leader, who was Carrie, the one who's too smart for her own good, Miranda, the naive one, Charlotte, and the slutty one, Samantha. I mean, I like that they weren't all the same kind of person, but I also wonder, like, would these 4 people have actually hung out in real life?
I couldn't help but wonder.
Right.
Would they all hang out?
Because they're just so, they're just different,
Yeah, very. Yeah.
So the original run of Sex and the City has gotten some heat over the years for not being very diverse, and rightfully so. So Sex and the City ends in 2004. The characters then continue in a pretty decent movie released in 2008, and a pretty shitty movie released in 2010.
Terrible.
Yep, that was bad.
And then in December of 2021, And Just Like That premiered. When And Just Like That premiered, it took a lot of heat for some clunky humor and the fact that every one of the main characters made a new non-white friend in the very first episode. It was, I can't believe anyone read that script and watched the way that played out. It was like, it's really obvious what we're doing here, right?
This
Yeah.
is so natural.
Yeah. And I mean, they needed to have diversity on the show. It's better with a more diverse cast, but it was just like, hit the diversity button on the keyboard. It was just very mechanical,
Yeah. It was like AI. Put some diversity in.
Right,
Yeah.
There's one particular scene in the first episode where Miranda's in a classroom. She's decided to pursue a master's degree and has a very unfortunate encounter with her professor, who is a black woman. And Miranda assumes she's not the professor when she actually is.
Oh, no.
And the thing is the kind of humor, especially the things that have happened to Miranda over the years on this show, I mean, it was really in line with the kind of humor the show's always had. I just feel like, and Amy, you and I talked about this once when it came out, I feel like the audience changed. And so that was where there was a little bit of a disconnect. I mean, people sort of expected different things. They're used to seeing different things now. And things like this handled a little bit differently. And it just wasn't, the show, the reboot, it took them a minute to sort of get up to speed on how people were wanting to see things.
It's like they missed that. Yes, the characters are the characters, but they also grew. The
they had to
audience,
evolve.
we've grown in that amount of time and have life experience. So should have the characters. Yeah.
That's a good point.
Also of note on And Just Like That, the character of Samantha is not really part of the show anymore. She's mentioned from time to time, but after Kim Cattrall went apeshit on Sarah Jessica Parker on Twitter, they continued on mostly without her. So,
How did she go apeshit on Sarah Jessica?
apparently, she said Sarah Jessica Parker is an egomaniac, and
Whoa!
this is like, I don't know, maybe 4 years ago. And
I
just
remember
that,
hearing there was a row, but I didn't. Yeah.
and that she hated working on that show, and she didn't get treated with respect, and she should have, they did all the humiliating things to her character, and she just, it seemed like the kind of thing, like maybe she had these feelings throughout the time they were making it and never really said anything, and it just sort of built up in her mind over the years, and then she just sort of,
That's understandable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've done 2 seasons of And Just Like That, and I've watched them all. It's not the revelation that the original series was, but it's still a pretty good show. And as far as all the reboots go, I think it's probably one of the better ones.
Okay.
If for no other reason than watching it won't make you feel like you're tarnishing the legacy of the original. It's not like some of the other ones that come out and you're just like, oh, I wish you would have just left it alone.
Well, yeah, for my last reboot, I brought a toy.
Oh.
Because, there's just some pinnacle toys from my childhood that I remember. So I'm going to take you back. Imagine.
Is this the Bop It?
They did remake the Bop It. It's in a weird, supposed to be more ergonomical handle. And I'm like, people's problem with the Bop It was not that it was hard to hold. It was just
the
that
anxiety.
Yes, it was anxiety.
People didn't
inducing.
abandon it because they got carpal tunnel. That's not what happened.
No. It's like, what are we doing? It almost looks like the shape of it now looks like those Theraguns, that you work out knots or whatever. It almost looks like that. But anyway, if you picture Erin in maybe 3rd, 4th grade, she had a crackpot business idea.
Ooh.
And that was based on a toy.
Okay.
And I had found myself an old phone that I put on a desk, and I made designs, clothing designs, with my Fashion Plate Deluxe.
What?
Yeah. I was obsessed with my Fashion Plate Deluxe. Now, if you don't know what this is, it is a hard plastic toy that comes with basically a head, sort of a torso, and a huge portion for the legs that you put under a screen, and then you rubbed over it with this crayon that made the lines black, and then you could add texture or add color with colored pencils. They'd have like a polka dot one that you could put under the paper and rub polka dots onto things, whatever. So the whole idea is that there's infinite possibilities, which I sort of disagree with because there's the exact number of things. So some mathematician could tell us exactly how many possibilities there are. But I loved that thing. That was my first business idea. I would pretend someone called me on the phone. I would take an order for an outfit, and then I would design it.
So not only did you love this toy, but you added a whole story to it.
Yeah, I sure did. I couldn't just play with the toy for my own. I had to be productive and be like, people are calling. And I had a little set of index cards that I would write down. I'd come up with a name.
Oh, my God.
And then I'd be like, okay, Amy called and she wants a pantsuit for an award ceremony. And I would have to come up with how I was going to design it, whatever. And then because sometimes I'd be working and that phone would not stop ringing. And I just had to write down those orders. So
at this time, did you envision a future as a stylist?
Yeah, I thought this was I was doing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I thought this is how everything comes to life.
Wow.
So this was, and by the way, it came out in 1989. So like I said, big fan. Now, I will say I did substitute the colored pencils because you can only live with those trash colored pencils for so long before your designs demand better. But
yeah.
So imagine my surprise when I found out that they remade it.
Oh.
I'm not sure why they call it the original Fashion Plates because it's done by a different company now than Hasbro. So I'm not sure. But this seems to be the most popular update of it. And basically, it's all the same things except they gave you a carrying case for the Fashion Plates. The previous one was just like a plastic tray that was loose that you had to keep everything in. Not great for travel.
It's just this, the ones on the bottom?
Yeah, that's the new one. So it
has a fashion designer on the go.
It has it has a few more plates, it looks like different design things, but the whole concept is the same. And, I've been giving verdicts and saying, which one that I would like better. Yeah. And even though there's almost no difference, I got to go with the new one because a carrying case could have made me so much more business.
Oh my God. You could have been a gajillionaire.
Because I couldn't really take this places because it wasn't very portable.
So you couldn't work at a coffee shop.
You
had to stay to your desk.
I couldn't go on site, meet with a client, which sometimes that's what the wealthy ones want. They want you to
Right.
come to them.
So you had
I
to
couldn't do
turn
that.
down business.
Yes.
And you had to keep stopping and answering that phone.
Yes.
Damn.
I
You
could-
really needed an assistant.
I did need an assistant.
Yeah.
Don't think I didn't try to rope my brothers into being my assistants, but it came with this great carrying case. I think is the game changer.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it to the new ones.
Okay.
That they're better for the reboot, but
I'm surprised they haven't turned it into some sort of iPad game or something.
oh, I'm sure there is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I bet that there absolutely is some different, way better version of this, but. If you want to go old school and you want to design products and have them right then and look
Yeah.
at them, this is where it's at.
And now you can take it on the go.
I will tell you that so there's a picture that I gave Amy and Heath that we can put on social media, but the main plate itself is about a third of an 8.5 by 11 sheet, right? If you turn it landscape wise. So I would even do things like do 3 outfit choices for clients.
Whoa.
That was for repeat business, but
Of
I'd be like, I'll
course.
give you 3 options. You pick the best one.
I mean, you had a business sense at that time.
I thought, this is it. I made my whole desk. I had a desk, and I put my lamp from my bed on my desk because I somehow thought that meant you were a creative office type, like if you had a lamp instead of an overhead light. And I toiled away.
You had figured out capitalism
I
by
did.
8 years old.
I did. And it's not without skill. I mean, to get that pattern right inside the lines you did, take some practice.
Yeah.
Well, no wonder you were being called.
I had the touch.
Yeah.
Which is great to think about because if I don't think anyone really like equates me with fashion now. Like that's not really my jam. So
Yeah, but I mean, obviously at some point you moved away from this into other, interests.
Uh-huh.
Again, we learned so much about Aaron.
Yeah.
there it is. Fashion plates.
I imagine we may come at this idea again for another episode.
Yes,
in
I
the
think we
future.
should.
Because there was a lot here.
Fertile ground.
Yeah. So we learned a lot of things. Don't do a shot for shot remake of things.
No, nobody cares about
But
it.
also don't, just trash the idea of the original with an adult version of Velma.
You need to be careful about which origin stories you choose.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. Learned so much. Send it there.
Will you keep in? Let's end it there.
Fuzzy Memories is a Broads and Books production. It's hosted by Heath Smith, Aaron Johnston, and Amy Lee Lillard. Follow us at Fuzzy Memories Pod on Instagram for clips and highlights. And follow us at Broads and Books Productions for updates on new shows coming your way. See you next time.
Well, I came at it a little differently.
You skipped. Heath was next.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jesus.
Oh, yeah. I would have let you go. I wasn't even paying
My
attention.
bad.
I was just like,
Sorry.
cocaine?
Yeah.